Welcome to Better Together with your hosts, EmmaLee Italia and Jennifer Morrow. When we all work together, we are stronger and can accomplish more for the kingdom of God. And now, here are the hosts of Better Together, EmmaLee Italia and Jennifer Morrow.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Better Together. I'm Jen Morrow.
I'm EmmaLee Italia. Welcome, everyone.
It's good to be back with you guys. We have an in-studio guest with us today.
Special treat.
A special treat, I know. We're very excited. And this is Jim Vargas, and Jim is the Evangelization and Faith Formation Director for the New Jersey Knights of Columbus.
Great to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about faith formation today, and Jim said, "Yeah, I'm going to come into the studio and hang out with you guys." It's like, for a full hour, you want to be part of this banter? and he said yes. So
he might be sorry in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm sure I won't be.
So thanks for being with us.
Wonderful to be
That's
here.
great. So
Thank you.
what's we'll do our normal roundup. What's been going on in the Diocese of Camden?
Well,
Jen?
first, I might cough a little. I'm going to try not to. I'm still getting over a cold for like 2 months, but at least I got my voice back.
Thank goodness.
So that is a good thing. Or not, depending on if you know me. Who knows?
It's much better for radio when your voice is doing well.
That's a good point. Good point. So yeah, we in the Diocese of Camden, we have some. It's been a pretty exciting couple of weeks, and we just put out a new issue of the Catholic Star Herald, and because we're
hold
on
that
YouTube,
beautiful copy up.
that's right. I'm doing my Vanna White right now. This beautiful cover of the Catholic Star Herald, which is a thank you to Bishop Denis Sullivan, who has been our bishop in Camden for 12 years. And on his birthday, March 17th, he is set to Bishop Coadjutor Bishop Joseph Williams is set to become the 9th bishop as Bishop becomes Bishop Emeritus. Yeah, I always have trouble with that word.
That's a tough one.
But it's a beautiful cover. It's 56 pages of Bishop Denis Sullivan's his legacy in the Diocese of Camden. The cover is green, and it has a pretty cool font. Shout out to our designer, Tom O'Shea. Sorry, I don't know the name of the font, but because Bishop Sullivan's birthday is St. Patrick's Day, we tried to make it very St. Patrick's Day. Yes, if that's a word. And it's just an amazing cover. Bishop, I have an interview with Bishop in here, and he's very passionate about his love of being in the churches, being a priest before anything. And so the cover, I think, really reflects that. There's 4 photos, one of him in the parishes, one of him in the schools, his first ordination of a priest in the Diocese of Camden, and Hispanic ministry. So pick it up if you're in the Diocese of Camden, please. And if you're not in the Diocese of Camden, but you want to win, or that, if you want to read an award-winning newspaper that is actually a full 72 pages, drop me an email, jennifer.morrow@camdendiocese.org.
That is not to be missed. I'm looking forward to thumbing through that.
It's
That
really
looks
pretty.
amazing.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to frame it.
You should.
Yeah,
You should.
I'm not a designer. I didn't design it, but it is absolutely beautiful. So,
And I'm sure it's a very worthy tribute of the ministry, what he's contributed to the Diocese of Camden.
I believe it is.
Yeah,
So,
looking forward to that.
That's pretty exciting. And then
Fantastic.
I also painted my nails green for Bishop Sullivan's birthday.
I
want to go on the record to say that. I have never, ever had green nails. So yesterday I did this.
Wow.
I said, I don't know if that was a good idea. So, and that's really all I got, Em.
That's great. I love it. Green nails, St. Patrick's Day, we're covered.
That's right. What's been going on with you and the diocese?
And the Diocese of Trenton. Well, that's actually going to be part of what we're speaking about today. We are gearing up for some major faith formation in our diocese, just like many dioceses throughout New Jersey and the nation are, with this Jubilee Year of Hope, this renewal of ministry within parishes, and just that personal call to missionary discipleship. So we'll be visiting a little bit further on that with someone from the Diocese of Trenton, but that's kind of our main focus. Our most recent issue just came out, and there's a little recap in there and kind of just getting people excited who have signed up for the conference, and just, we're expecting over 400 people to come.
That's
so
fantastic.
It's going to be amazing.
You know what we should also talk about real quick?
What's that?
That priest that we saw in Princeton.
Oh, we should.
Oh, my gosh.
He was
We're
entertaining.
talking about faith formation. It was, your church, your actual parish.
Yes,
So.
my parish of St. Paul's in Princeton. We hosted a little mini 2-day retreat, and we had Father David Michael Moses come, and he's like this famous YouTuber, tons of followers, way more than we have. But he's well known.
That was a
throughout-
challenge, listeners. Listeners, everybody, get going. Come on,
Get those views up there.
get those views up.
But young priest, so enthusiastic. He told kind of his journey, and just really passionate about his faith and about making it accessible and fun. He was just the way that he presented not only his story, but also, the journey of faith that we all go on, just really made it so attractive.
Yeah.
And then they had different tracks for different age groups. So, the youth had their own specific program with him. He celebrated Mass for the school kids. And then we had an evening program that both of us were able to attend, and we were in stitches. He's hilarious.
Oh, it was so funny, y'all. If you ever get a chance, check him out on Instagram or YouTube. Father David Michael Moses. He's young, like 31, 33.
Right, because
Yeah,
he
he's young.
graduated.
That is young.
He graduated college so early. I forget what age it was.
He
but
graduated
then-
high school at 14. I
Yeah,
think he was
yeah.
done with college by 18 or 19.
Really?
And he was a priest within like early 20s.
Yeah, I think he was the
Amazing.
young.
Isn't
He
that-
was the youngest in his diocese, and maybe at the nation at the time. I think he said.
He's from
So,
Texas.
but he's in his early 30s now. He looks like one of my teenagers.
Yeah, he's like a baby. And then he plays music with the guitar and everything. And at the end, somebody asked him at the very end to do another song. So we did one last song, and this is my favorite part. And then he dropped to the ground and did the worm. Yeah.
You have to see it to believe
You have
it.
to see it. Only the second real life worm I've ever seen. My uncle being the first and the priest
Really?
being the second. I thought that was pretty impressive.
I definitely a first for me too.
Yeah.
So, but definitely look him up because he has
Mm-hmm.
lots of short YouTube videos, 5-10 minutes each, that are answering questions that are really important, and a lot of youth are asking, a lot of adults are asking too, I think. And it's a nice way to dive into our faith that's just, I keep saying accessible, but we have wonderful theologians and philosophers in the Catholic faith, and some of them are just a little higher level, more difficult to, I know I'm not quite there yet, but Father David Michael Moses has a gift for speaking to people, I think, in a way that's easy to receive.
I found him on Instagram. That's how I found him.
Did
and
you?
I was just scrolling one night like everybody else, cat video. Father David Michael Moses, this guy's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he was pretty good.
One of the things that we found out is everybody's different and groups are different. So it takes different people to reach
Right.
different audiences. So he hits one, somebody more serious hit the other. But talking about your viewership, we have 50,000 nights in New Jersey and 2 million worldwide. So we'll do what we can to
Wow.
help.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Excellent.
I definitely want to talk about that too, because I know the Knights are doing a really big push in New Jersey for membership, and you guys are like leading in the nation. So
Right now we are.
Yeah,
It's kind
yeah.
of interesting to go like that.
that is what Neil
interesting.
Cullen from the Diocese of Camden tells me.
Yeah, he
We'll
is.
take it.
We have
right?
a big challenge with Texas. That's the name of the
Oh,
song, yeah.
wow.
My people. That's where
Yes.
I'm from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
nice. That's exciting it's exciting to see any growth like this in our church, in our faith, that people are looking for something, and this is where they're coming to find it in many cases.
Right.
And I'm actually working on an article right now for the Monitor on Mass attendance and how it has increased pretty much nationwide, but just even within our diocese and specific parishes, and I'm sure within all of the dioceses of New Jersey, we're seeing pockets of enthusiasm. This, and it's a lot of it in the youth, it seems like. So it'll be interesting to, when that article comes out, I'll refer it maybe next month.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You should bring a copy and show it off like
There we
I
go.
do
Yes, we
in
have
front
to
of
have the Vanna.
in front of the camera.
Yes.
So talking about
Oh,
faith,
right. Faith
our
formation.
topic is faith formation today.
Yes, and you had led us to a wonderful introduction. Was it someone at the diocese, I think, pointed us in the right direction?
Yes, in the Diocese of Trenton. It was on your, I believe it was like the pastoral
Got it.
Facebook had shared
Okay.
it from the Archdiocese of Newark, because we're all
Right.
as a state and as a church, we're trying to work together, and
Yes.
and especially in New
everyone's-
Jersey, we're all close. You can drive.
Yes, and everyone is responding to this Jubilee Year of Hope, and how can we make this visible? How can we have this be an active year for us? And Cardinal Tobin released something in early January, let's see, what does he call it? It's a pastoral letter entitled "We Are His Witnesses." And we'll give you the link. I was just going to point out a couple of things that he kind of talks about this letter that he sent out to the diocese. But he has some reflections on what is the path of pastoral conversion and missionary discipleship that we are called to follow as the people of God. And I think the topic of faith formation today really points toward that specifically. And he points out that Jesus invites us to be his witnesses and share his love and his truth with everyone we encounter. Another point he makes is that we need to have that willingness to be open to what God's word is saying to us and to listen to one another. Hearing a lot about listening these days, and I think we can't overemphasize that point, to be active listeners and to just take in what other people are saying.
We were just talking about that with Jim before we came on the show. Is that
listening.
How we get better at listening the older we get? Like, I think when you're younger, we're just like, we got to talk. But as we get older, we want to listen a little bit more, which is, like you said, what the synod was all about.
Yeah, it's exactly that too. And there's a balance. You have to speak out. You have to be visible there. And men, especially who have they been approached now, they tend to lean back and not speak forward. And that's one of the things tonight we're kind of asking them to step forward, be brave, be faithful, proclaim his name. If I were to ask you, and this goes back a long time ago, what the Knight's major mission today, it's to proclaim his name in everything we do and be his witness in everything we do.
That's right in line with what Cardinal Tobin is saying here.
We
in
are
his
his
message.
witnesses.
We are his witnesses, and he says we are challenged to be agents of growth and change in the world. So not just to live our faith quietly on our own, but to actually go out and live it. So you had the website, I think, for the letter. If anybody wants to read his entire message.
Yes. So it's We Are His Witnesses. You can go to jerseycatholic.org. That is the media outlet for the Archdiocese of Newark. And I believe you can also go to their diocesan site, which I believe is rcan.org. So either one of those, and you can find a direct link and read it.
Yeah. So I think we're about ready to take a quick break and then bring on our first phone guest for the hour to talk about some faith formation happening in our state.
Sounds good. So everybody stick around.
Bishop Robert Barron on the priesthood.
For the first 1,000 years, there were married priests within the church. There still are married priests under certain circumstances, so it's not absolutely necessary. However, I'm a supporter of it, and I wouldn't want us to move in the direction of kind of optional, some do it, some don't. I get it. And I go back to Paul, and it's Paul's words that are actually in the ordination ritual, about an undivided life, a total gift. I have nothing but the greatest respect for married people. In fact, when I hear the term heroic sanctity, when they talk about saints, I think of parents right away, who give themselves to their kids. But there's something, I think, pure and simple and undivided about the life of celibacy. It's a radical conformity unto the celibate Christ. Why am I celibate? My ultimate answer, because Jesus was, and I'm conformed to him.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Everyone has to work through mounds of mundane stuff every day. Even the Pope has to rubber stamp a stack of papers today. The question is, what spirit do you bring to that stuff? I was folding laundry the other day for 6 kids. The mound was huge, and I was starting to get this terrible attitude. Arg, I don't want to be doing this. And I remembered a guy who reached out to our ministry anonymously through an email contact form. He was in a different continent. He said, "Can someone come visit me? I'm ill. I'm so lonely. I have no friends, no family." He was just reaching out to the internet in desperation. I almost started crying as I folded each shirt. Thank you, God, for the kid who wears this shirt, the wife who wears that dress. Listen, if you have work today, give thanks. And if you have people you love who you're getting to work for, give thanks even more. If you do, your work might still be kind of stinky, but at least you won't be. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Welcome back to Better Together, everyone. My name is EmmaLee Italia.
I'm Jen Morrow.
And in our studio with us today, we have Jim Vargas, who's the State Evangelization and Faith Formation Director for the New Jersey Knights of Columbus. And we'll be joined on the phone shortly here by Denis Contino. And she is the Director of Catechesis for the Diocese of Trenton. Good morning, Denise. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing wonderful. Thanks for having me this morning. I'm excited to share information about our upcoming conference with the community of listeners.
Oh, we're excited to have you on. And I don't know if you heard that we also have Jim Vargas with us, who is the State Evangelization and Faith Formation Director for the New Jersey Knights.
I did. So, Jim, I don't know if you and I ever met, but I'm glad to be on with you this morning.
Same here. I think we crossed paths. I work with Josue and Rachel a lot.
Yes. My colleagues in the Chancery, so that's wonderful.
Awesome. So we're going to dive into the Hope in Our Hearts Faith Formation and Parish Ministry Conference that's coming up in the Diocese of Trenton on March 29th, and that will be at St. John Vianney High School in Homedale. The registration is still open through March 14th, and that's at dioceseoftrenton.org/hope2025. I'll say that again at the end. So if you haven't signed up yet and it's before the date, then we're hoping to give you some reasons to do so today. So I'm sure Denise is going to have some great things to share about that. Denise, can you tell us what's special about this upcoming conference? Because this isn't an annual event, right? But it's something different this year?
Right. This is not an annual event. This is actually a conference that happened in the diocese many, many years ago. So they used to have these larger conferences. And back in 2009, I attended a conference of this size at at Christian Brothers Academy. And it changed my outlook on ministry as a leader, as a catechist, as someone who transmits the faith. And when I came to the Chancery in 2018 as the director, I really in my heart wanted to bring a conference of this size to our constituents because I know how it changed me. So in 2020, we had this ready to go in the spring of 2020, and we all know what happened in 2020. So with COVID, it never happened. And then moving on, when it was the Jubilee year, Pilgrims of Hope, we just said, this is the time. This is the time. The Holy Father's calling us to something larger. And with the help of all the directors in the diocese and Pastoral Life and Mission, Josue Areola, Dan Waddington, Terry Ginther, and myself, we had this idea to put this conference on, and it needs to be bilingual. It needs to be for our Hispanic parish ministers and also our Anglo parish ministers. So that's what makes it special. What makes it different is the vast variety of workshops that are available that day. And because of the variety of workshops, the constituent base is expanded. So this conference is for anyone that serves in their parishes across the diocese or an apostolate. Anyone who's transmitting the faith, or anyone who's thinking, where do I fit in? Can I serve in my parish? This is a way, if you're listening and you're like, I want to volunteer at my parish, but I don't know where to start, join us on the 29th because your eyes will be opened. This is for catechists, which we are all catechists, but I will say this is for religious education catechists, Catholic school teachers, if you're involved in youth ministry or campus ministry, Christian initiation, evangelization teams, adult faith formation, baptism, marriage ministry teams. Like, we try to have a variety of workshops that will meet all the needs of these constituents.
So it sounds like
that's what makes it.
Sounds like if you're involved in your parish, then this is for you.
Exactly. And the workshops vary. There's workshops where there's practical skills to pass on directly to your ministry. There's also workshops for your own spirituality. For example, Terry Ginther is doing a workshop on Lectio Divina to help us with our own prayer life. But then how do we pass that on to our ministries, our learners, or our adults, or whoever we're serving? There's also going to be workshops where we could grow a little bit deeper in our love of theology, our love of, Scripture. And we have a couple of speakers that are diving a little bit deeper. Dr. Alan Wright from Newark is coming down, and he's doing a workshop on Scripture. We have Father Michael Hall, who's the director of the Office of Worship. He's going to talk about in his workshop the significance of gestures and postures at Mass.
Oh,
so,
nice.
and people are excited for that one. So that one's filling up. We have Father Gary Koch, who's the pastor of St. Benedict Catholic Church and School in Homedale. He's doing a workshop on the Nicene Creed because this year is the 1700th anniversary of the Nicene Creed. So I could go on and on with the beautiful workshops that are being offered that day and the opportunity. I want to say, though, the vendors, we have a vast variety of vendors that are going to be there that day to serve the constituents, to show them the resources that they have built out to make available for parish ministers. I know that was an eye-opener for me, just seeing the Catholic community of publishers that are out there and vendors that could help us. I'll just mention a few. We have Flom, we have Loyola Press, Sadlier, our Sunday Visitor, and then we have some local folks coming in as well. So there's probably about 30 vendors that are going to be lined up in the hallways throughout the day for participants to interact with.
And you know, Denise, it's Jen, by the way. Hi. So
hi, Jen. Good to hear you.
You too.
I miss you.
Same. What's really kind of like my mouth kind of dropped open when I was reading about this is there's like 48 breakout sessions. So when you, if I'm right, when you say there's something for everyone, I mean there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
Literally.
And we were able to, we've been working on this since I would say the early last summer, even before, but really securing all the workshop speakers last summer. And that's what we did. We tried to just have that variety of workshop speakers for all the constituents. And we couldn't have done this without the help of our so many sponsors, that sponsored some of these speakers for us. So we're so grateful.
Oh, that's great.
And the keynotes, we have two great keynotes.
Oh, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah. So Chris Padgett, he's going to be the keynote in English. His love is most of his experience, and he's been serving in ministry for over 30 years. His heart's in youth ministry, and that's where most of his experience is. And he's been speaking around the country. He's a musician. He's authored books. He teaches at colleges. He's also a comedian, so he should get us laughing, which is great. But he has pivoted some of his ministry work toward marriage ministry. So we found that very interesting when we were securing a keynote for this conference, because we wanted someone that could speak to the larger community. And when we talk about marriage ministry, it connects to family ministry.
Sure.
So we just thought he would be the perfect guy to start off our day and inspire our parish ministers to minister to the family, and then, no matter who the family is.
That's great. And then you also have a keynote speaker who's in Spanish as well. Am I right?
That's right. So we have a keynote in Spanish as well, and that is the famous Father Augustino Torres, a Franciscan friar of the Renewal, and he's our neighbor. He is up in the Diocese of Patterson, and he's been with us before in Trenton, and we're so happy to have him back. He's the executive director of, I'm not great with my Spanish, but Casa Juan Diego, a service of hospitality to the poor in Yonkers, New York. And he's also one of the founding brothers of Catholic Underground, which I don't know if your listeners know about that, but in New York City, it is fantastic. My husband and I went a couple of years ago, and we walked in and we were wowed. So there's adoration and praise and worship, and then they always have something in the basement, an art show or something they display. So he's one of the founders of that. So he's one of the dynamite speakers. He was a speaker for the Eucharistic Renewal last year, the revival, excuse me. So we're so excited for Father Torres, and I know the Hispanic community is going to, their jaws are going to drop when they hear him.
He has so much energy. I remember he came to one of the DYCs when I first was working in Trenton, like 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And holy moly, he was funny. He had so much energy. Like, you can't help but smile and just like jump to your feet for the Lord when he's around.
Yeah, he came to Trenton just a couple of years ago for the Eucharistic revival. but it wasn't open to all the parish ministers. It was a day when we were getting ready for the Eucharistic revival for parish leaders and pastors. So he set the tone for us as a diocese for the revival, and we're so thankful for him. But I'm so happy that I could now bring him to the parish ministers so they could hear him and be inspired.
I love that there's such a nice blend of using resources that are within our state and also outside the state. I was looking at the slate of speakers, and that's available online for anybody who's looking for more information that tells a little bit about each speaker, and just looking at their background and, you know, where they've ministered, where they've come from. It's really just kind of highlights how, you know, no matter how far away we are, we're Catholics, we're all part of this larger family.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what the day is going to do as well for our participants, or that's our hope, that they see themselves that this community is so large and we all have the same mission to make disciples. And there's challenges along that way, and we're hoping to provide the participants with a place where they could exchange ideas, they could build new relationships, deepen their own faith, you know, find fresh approaches to ministry, to really be renewed, right? To be renewed in their understanding of the faith and to transmit it to others, just to be renewed in that hope.
That's such a good point. Like, we often forget, if we're involved in parish ministry, like, we're giving of our knowledge and our time, but we might forget sometimes to care for our own spiritual growth and renewal. And so what a great opportunity for all those who, you know, might need a day to just kind of replenish.
And especially during Lent. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all about renewal, and here you are having this huge event, you know, and during Lent. I'm thinking that wasn't a coincidence.
Yeah, no, we always, to be quite honest, we always have our catechist formation day in the Lenten season, and it just landed in the calendar, and we're like, well, that's where this conference is going to be. It's always finding the right time. It was either the fall or the spring is the sweet spot for these type of conferences, so we chose the Lenten season for this one.
Nice.
You know, and I don't want to be remiss without mentioning that we're celebrating liturgy during the day, and that's going to be at 11:15 with our own Bishop, David O'Connell. So we're so happy to have him come, and he's excited to talk to all the parish ministers and, you know, celebrate Mass with them and inspire them to keep moving forward and to give them the energy. So we're happy to have our lead catechist with us that day as well.
That's always great when we can have our shepherd there to add his wisdom to the occasion.
Yeah, this is so great because we find this in the night. You get so caught up in doing the act or the breakfast sort of thing that you forget what you're doing it for, and you're doing it for Christ. And the second thing, the way you come into it, is you got to step away from it. And you've got to be renewed because it gets to it. And it goes into the other things I talked about. You go to an event, that's great, but then you've got to maintain that feeling because that event will only last a month or two. But that's why you put in place a regular base that comes back to praying to God.
Yeah.
Right, finding a way to carry forward what you've learned, carry that into your ministry.
And live what you learned, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I appreciate that. Is there anything else?
Refreshment. We're hoping to refresh and, like you said, continue that on in their ministries. And that's what we do on the diocesan level. Like, we're here. Our main goal is to support parishes in their mission. So anybody listening, like, if you need support in your ministry, that's what the Office of Pastoral Life and Mission of the Diocese of Trenton does. We support you in your role. So along with the pastors.
Thank you for that reminder.
Keep it going.
Yeah, because I think it also, you can, if you're new to ministry or getting started, you kind of forget that there are resources that go beyond even your parish that you can draw from. And I'm sure that's the case in all of our New Jersey dioceses.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. That's the missions of the diocese, you know. So I think there's always a lot of mystery of what happens at the diocesan level. But, you know, the diocesan level there is to support parishes and individuals in any way possible, definitely through the pastoral department.
Certainly. And then, you know, when we have these annual appeals that take place, you know, I think it's you know, we're in the middle of the one in Diocese of Trenton, just reminding people that we have a ministry that extends beyond the immediate parish. And then when you're investing in that, in the diocese at large, it benefits your parish and the ministries that operate outside the parish that are good for the diocese as a whole. And programs like this.
And that's so true. And I mean, I'll just take the opportunity to thank all the donors, because this conference would not be possible without the generosity of the people with our annual Catholic Appeal. This is really all them and our sponsors, but it's a conglomerate event of all the donors. So we thank you, because as Jim just said, like, it's about renewal, it's about creating, it's about making disciples, and it's about Christ.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Denise. Thank you so much for coming on and talking more about this, and everybody, like she was saying, there's 48 breakout sessions with lots of great speakers and lots of great vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And EmmaLee, where can people go to find more information?
That's at dioceseoftrenton.org/hope2025. And there are links there not only for registration, but also giving you an idea of the day, the schedule, and the speakers, what they're speaking about, the different workshops, everything right there.
Thanks, Denise. It was good to talk to you again.
Thanks, girls. I appreciate the time, and I'll be praying for you and your work
likewise.
and everything you do, and pray for us, vice versa.
Always.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, everybody, and we'll be right back.
Hello, this is Bishop David O'Connell of the Diocese of Trenton, and this is a Eucharistic moment. The liturgical form of the Mass was changed several times in church history and was changed again by the Second Vatican Council. Theologically, however, Vatican II did not contribute anything different to how the Catholic Church actually understands and presents the Eucharist in official teaching. This doctrine has remained rather consistent through the centuries. At the Last Supper, on the night he was betrayed, we read in the document on the liturgy, our Savior instituted the Eucharist, a sacrifice of his body and blood. He did this in order to perpetuate the sacrifice of the cross throughout the centuries until he should come again. Taking part in the Eucharistic sacrifice, we read in the Constitution on the Church, is the font and apex of the whole of Christian life.
It started like it does for many people, question my faith and question authority. And I feel that the reason why I left was the draw of the world. The world was pulling me away. Some people would say, Satan was working on me. He did not want me in church. He wanted me to be desperate. He wanted me to have the thoughts of suicide. I started to realize that a lot of the things that I had experienced in my life were a result of my rebellion against God and against authority. Coming back to the church is the first step in healing from all of the hurts of the world. I went from being desperate and in despair to finding hope and encouragement for the future. I'm on God's team. I know who I belong to, and I know where I'm going, and there's nothing that can separate me from God's love.
Take another look at the Catholic Church. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
Hi, everybody. You're back with Better Together. I'm Jen Morrow.
EmmaLee Italia.
And with us today, we have Jim Vargas, who is the Evangelization and Faith Formation Director for the New Jersey Knights of Columbus. And he's in studio with us, and we've been talking about faith formation so far today. And Jim's here to talk to us about a Knights initiative called CORE, C-O-R. Is that correct?
That is correct. And CORE is not an acronym. It's Latin for heart. And it's from St. John Newman, cor loquitur, heart speaks to heart. And it's based on his meetings that he would bring men together to speak.
Mm-hmm. So this is great. Kind of heard about CORE, I believe. Is it kind of new?
It's very new. It really introduced 2 years about now, right? And CORE is actually an initiative of the large initiative, Faith and Evangelization and Faith Formation Director, which I run.
Okay. So for those who are not familiar with the Knights of Columbus, let's first just take a step back and explain what is the mission of the Knights of Columbus.
You know, the Knights have been around for a long time,
right.
And we've changed. At one time, we had a thing called Surgeon Service Program, which we wanted to do service, but then we realized we have to do it for God, so we changed it, and it's called Faith in Action. Our next step is to take it in and make it very, very personal. Right. CORE comes into, if I looked at the mission, and about 12 years ago, the leader of the room said, if you ask for our mission today, it would be the foremost lay organization in the advancement of the new evangelization. Well, we haven't grown that much, and we've been slow, but core and evangelization is what we're trying to do now. And if you ask what our mission is today, it is to proclaim his name in everything we do and be his witness in everything we do. It's all about him.
So how is CORE, the mission of CORE, different than the mission of the Knights? Or is it different?
It's
Or
not different.
Just
It's
another extension?
It's an extension. It's the next move of it. So core is the recognition that we talked about great events coming on before. We all go to great events, and you feel really good, and maybe they last a month, okay? And you start to go back to what you're doing. You need to repeatedly come back and talk to God and be with them. And that's what core does. It's men's group. We ask them to meet, once or twice a month. They can meet weekly. And we ask only three main things in it, that there's prayer, there's formation, and there's fellowship in Christ.
Okay.
When I've worked this, I didn't realize this at the time, but when you look at relationships that men do that are in work, they're great. But when work starts, the relationship stops. And if you do it in prayer, if you do it, that relationship stays. And I've looked back at my own life, and the people, I've worked with many, many people, I've lost touch with them. But the people that have been faith-based, they stay in touch with it.
That's an amazing point. My husband just went through the diaconate program, and he maintains a communication with and a brotherhood with the men who went through the program with him at the same time. I think because of the faith-based nature of it, I think that makes such a difference. Work colleagues are wonderful, but, things change, people move on, and that relationship kind of tends
Sometimes
to fade.
they start radio shows together.
That's true. Sometimes they do.
And you see it right away. In Metuchen, there's a pretty well group that goes at the cathedral. And there was a night, he's a very active night, and he was very active in the men's group. His wife died. And both organizations reacted who they were. But the Knights were like, we're sorry, if anything can help them do it. The group was more faith-based, talked about God, talked about the next mission of it. And you saw instantly the difference of it, and that's where it comes down to.
Right.
So core itself is great. It's meant to bring people that you have to step away from your day-to-day work and focus on God on a repetitive basis. But we've also, in New Jersey, we built a plan on evangelization and faith formation in 3 prongs. 1, establish the Council Evangelization and Faith Formation Director, called the EFF. Number 2, implement core. And number 3, start living the message of Into the Breach. Into the Breach is a program that Bishop Olmsted put out in 2015. Okay. The Knights took it and made it into a pamphlet, and then he made 10 videos on it. Living those things about masculinity, the spiritual war, being a leader is part of it. So it's not, what we offer in the Knights now is we have a core base where we have a mission, we have a program director, we have a mission membership director. Those are both important. But now the evangelization director brings the spirituality to it. So we can have a plan to do something. We can bring them spiritually, and then we can come and make them live their life by those things called Into the Breach.
Into the Breach.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the things that goes in, Bishop Olmsted's great. He's retired now. He's out of Phoenix. But, we're going to start a plan coming next year. Right now, we have about a little over 300 councils. I got about 100 EFFs, local EFFs in place. We want to grow that to most councils.
In the state?
In the state.
Okay.
Right. And so I'll talk about that in a second. But so, we're going to bring this into, and we're going to start a program. We're going to have a faith-based moment at each business meeting. So they meet to do this type of thing, an EFF related. And the first one's going to be put God first. Put him in everything you do and be intentional. The idea is to discern and do things for God and bring it into it. Then we're going to roll into, Bishop Olmsted gave us the 7 habits of a Catholic gentleman. And it talks about praying every day and having friends. But 2 things at the end, the monthly things are go to confession and have faith-based men groups, which core works are into. Right. And so we build on that. And then the next thing we're going to go, he says, pray every day. But one of the things we're going to ask is we ask Knights to lead prayer in every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we're probably going to call the program, every night, every meal, every day. And we're called in the Into the Breach tapes to lead our families. Your job as a man is to lead your family to heaven. And if you sit down and you pray with your family and you pray public grace every day, we'll change the world.
I love
So
that.
it's pretty easy. Core gets your word, and it's so pretty if you look at it. It's cool. The heart, it's a name. Core is a cool word and stuff like that. When you get to the hardcore of really praying and doing that stuff, it's a little bit more of a challenge.
Certainly.
So is it a
certainly.
group that meets monthly? Is that part of what CORE
Some
does?
meet weekly, some meet one
Oh, wow.
monthly, some meet twice a month.
Okay.
Every aspect you could have of how it lines up is out there.
So it depends upon your local
It depends
chapter?
your local thing. Well, we found that when we're going to try, we have Father Rush from Newark. He is the core clergy liaison. So he's going to be working with us to bring the clergy into it, and he's going to be bringing 3 more priests to work with them. I'll be lining up a plan to work with them together. So what we found is if the priest or a pastor or chaplain is involved, it's a much broader spectrum because core is not only for knights, it's for all men.
Right.
So if you bring the pastor in, people kind of shy away from knights. You just want me to join you and put me to work, right? So if the pastor's there, it's kind of a balanced area. And so it comes into it. But it's all over different things. And we'll work with anybody. If there are groups out there like Heroic Men or Emmaus or trying to think of the other ones, Cornerstone, we're not going to step. We're not meant there to compete. We're meant to join and work with.
That's what I was wondering is like if especially when you're working with the parish, some of the parishes might already have men's groups or organized, like you said, like Cornerstone, but you're not there to compete. It's more like collaboration
Absolutely.
and to continue to foster.
Absolutely. And what's getting so great, so there's a group called Heroic Men, and it's pretty big in Pennsylvania. You'll see them in the news if you're up to them. They're having a big conference. And Damien O'Connor, who is the vice president of evangelization and faith formation up in our headquarters, he's going to be one of the speakers.
Oh,
And if we have a thing, we would have a speaker of those guys. So it is really collaborative.
Is it in Philadelphia? Or
Which one?
the Heroic Men Conference?
That's one of them. I think it is.
Oh, 'cause
They
I
have
think
a
I
couple
saw
all over if you look
something.
it up. They're like I said, they're big in some areas.
Yeah.
They only have one in New Jersey, and actually they're part of the one that was in just the one that had in Trenton. They're part of it.
Okay.
But we need to work with. And again, the guy when I told you earlier before when we work with Adam Carlisle, the speaker that he has talked to is kind of from Heroic Men, but he's just somebody that knew Adam and he's going to do it. So in there we're building it by deaneries. So as we roll out,
Diocese of Metuchen.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what the neat thing about it, and that's what I talk about, is each diocese is different. We're working with Camden, Don, and those people. We're implementing one way. Working in Trenton, we're going to work closely with Josue. With Adam, it's going to be by deaneries. In Patterson, it's going to be out of the Evangelization Center. And Newark, we're going to be more. It's very big, so we'll probably do what they call federations lined up by county. So it's cool. The thing that the Knights can really do, is seal the seams. Dioceses do great things, right? But the Knights can go across it. So remember they have the Eucharistic pilgrimage?
Yeah.
So it came through Trenton and then into Metuchen and into Trenton, right?
Yeah.
The Knights were with the whole way.
Yeah.
Adam led actually a procession. He marched like 17 miles, right? It's like that.
Wow.
I was the water boy. And, it comes out, and it's a great thing because they were like, well, we have stations here. And I said, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Threw it in my car. I drove ahead of him a mile, stopped, laid it up, and found him. Nobody knew me when I first met him there. By the end of March, I was everybody's best friend.
I bet you were.
And then we carried it over working with Josue into Trenton, and we followed it from when it went to Trenton all the way when it went to the bridge and was passed over to Pennsylvania. And the Knights were in Pennsylvania. So that's I think our greatness as we come up and stop being the pancake breakfasts. Those things are important.
Right.
But I'll give you an example. On last Sunday, because I have a house in Pennsylvania, and I went to a local church. I go to a really good church, right? It's in the diocese of Allentown. Right? So the Bishop of Allentown asked everybody on the first Sunday of Lent, every priest, to talk about, it's called Safe Sunday. It has to do with protection around pornography and all those things that are into it. And the priest did a great job of talking about it. And he said, I know people are sensitive about it, so I'm going to leave the material out there. If you don't want to pick it up today, you can come back and pick it up. Well, at the same time, the Knights were having a fish fry. They have 2 fish fries there because they did the Lenten Peace.
Yeah.
So I went up to the priest after. I said, did you talk to the Knights about what you're doing with the pornography? He goes, no, that's a great idea. And so I went over to the guys over there and said, you know about this? They go, no, okay. The truth of the matter is, Knights, we have to be both at the fish fry and at the pornography table. And the guy at the pornography table may not be good at something else, but so the fish fry guys may not be able to be billed to do that, and the guys who are at the pornography will probably overcook the fish. But that's what the Knights bring. We have different things that we can put together and working together. That's what I love your program here, working together. Yeah. That's what we do. We're all about working together.
And so important for men to have a spiritual brotherhood that they can come to and be built up and feel supported. It's great to have mixed groups, but there's something unique about having a men's group or a women's group, that's exclusive to just different experiences, different expressions of faith, different callings. And
Different
it seems
challenges.
like this is sure.
I tell the story. It's like, you talk about, how you deal with your wives, right? And sometimes the challenge you have.
Careful,
how you
Jim.
with the family.
You're
I
in
know.
the studio
But
with two ladies.
everybody, I'm used to this.
Just teasing.
But it comes in. They look at the world differently.
Yeah,
right.
And sometimes you feel back off that you don't want to do something, and you back off from it, or you get involved in something, you should back off. And the whole thing is, you can say, "Here's my challenges," and we all have the same thing. And it's the family's different. Men have their role, women have their role, and our job is to raise children. Like I said, if you look at the Into the Breach tape, it said your main job is to lead your family to heaven.
So I think this topic is so interesting. I was just talking to a man in his early 50s recently, and he said, I think I'm done making friends. I have all the friends I need. And I was like, but you only have like 2 man friends. He's like, and that bothered me, right? Because I feel like fraternity among men and spirituality among men is going to be different, obviously, than it is for women.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like CORE could be one of those avenues to bring men together for their spirituality. Because what do you think men are hungering for when it comes to spirituality?
Exactly it. Well, you'll find 70% of men don't have one friend. That's what the studies have. Men don't share. I mean, women, when you have like Cornerstone, you throw that up there, you need 100 people. 2 weeks later, there's 100 women there. You have it
true.
takes to the last
True.
day. The last day
It's
to
true.
get the Cornerstone men, you're still looking for people, right?
Yeah.
And the point is, once you get them to there, once people understand they can, they learn to be different, and they go back, and that is a place where you re-energize as a man, and then go back to the world and act it. And other men are acting it too.
Mm-hmm.
So it drives. It's so important. And Terry from Trenton, we met with her and talked about it. She's like, men are so broken. This is so important, guys. You got to do it right. And Donna from down in Camden said the same thing. So it's interesting when we go walking to talking to people that the women are the ones that were saying they saw the breakness, the hardness, the
Sure,
loneliness
because
of
we
men.
witness it in the men we love, that they need that fraternity. And there are a lot of secular fraternal organizations that don't have the membership that they used to. And so, I think the Knights are really filling a void there, but adding the spiritual aspect as well. So it's not just activity, but it's activity plus it's for a purpose, for a specific purpose.
Not only that, so the programs help you do that, but you really, as men, you can get really caught up in the act.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you're fighting somebody like if we testify at the legislature or we're out in front of a pregnancy center, if you're caught up in the act, you can lose God, and you're doing it for yourself. And that's the thing about coming back to the whole thing of all the works done. Do not do it for yourself. Put God first, and then do it for the Lord, because He's our master. And He's the one that we're here to serve.
Yeah.
And we've got great speakers. Jonathan Reyes. Have you ever heard that name?
I have heard that name.
Right. He's been all over Focus and all that stuff. He's with the Knights now. The stuff he says, he talks one time, he's talking to the young Knights, and he says, evangelization is all in. The world does not need halfway evangelists. They don't do the job. And he said it also brings it home that we have to fight. It's all about God. But we haven't gotten it down. So one of the things we tried to do in New Jersey is Ray Sands, who's the state deputy now, and I work with the Coptic Orthodox Church. They're not in full confirmation with it. But as you know, they were the ones that, if ISIS, the 21 guys who are in the orange robe that were beheaded. Do you remember that back when?
From
we did it, right?
early, yeah.
Yeah, so they were Coptics. And when I found out, I worked at the Coptic Church, I sent to the priest over, Father Mina, and we talked about it. It was great, and how they changed the church. But then our Pope Francis made them accepted martyrs in the Catholic liturgy. So they're martyrs in our church. So Ray and I went to their church, and we had a presentation to them. Full church, 400 or 500 people into it. And we talked to them about it. We gave them an icon, but we presented a rose to each of the icons that they had of the 21 men.
Mm-hmm.
And when they finished, they were talking, the deacon was saying, he goes, we are Coptics. He goes, we expect to be persecuted for our Lord Christ, and we embrace martyrdom. Man,
Wow.
I wanted to make them all nights. And you can't, but that's our attitude. It's all got to be Christ. And guys like Jonathan Reyes are saying it's all in.
Mm-hmm.
How would you advise someone who's considered the the Knights in the past, but maybe they view the Knights as, well, they flip burgers and they, do diaper drives, that's not really my thing. I mean, how would you invite someone who doesn't have that much experience with the Knights? How would you kind of advertise to them and encourage them, to give it a try?
Yeah, I think I would ask them and say, do you want to serve God? Is there a way that you want to do it with fellowship? We've got a way. There's many things we do, and where there's a way for you to fit in, right? So as a matter of fact, I told you we have these programs, but working with Josué from Trenton is we're going to map programs to where he's teaching us where people are in evangelization along the continuum, and you would have different things that would make a comparison. So you're not going to ask a guy that doesn't very close to the church to go to adoration. You might ask him to go help clean up a thing like that. So
okay,
meeting them where they're at.
Yeah, it's about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's important, right? We had a deep dive into that last time.
Yeah. Speaking of, going back to core, and especially because we're talking about service now too, is service part of core?
Yeah, but actually, no.
Okay. Yeah.
Core is meant to get away and be close to God.
Right.
Now, the nights are about service.
Right.
And so we go into it, and so I went to it. So like I said, when I have that EFF, the counselor, he looks at the counsel and wants to bring them holy. Pray more, challenge them. One of the things I do, I go, raise your hand. Have you ever prayed, said somebody they were in trouble, I'll pray for you? And everybody goes, yeah. And I say, don't raise your hand. Did you follow through? Did you really pray for the guy? And how did you do it? Oh, by the way, did you say, hey, do you want to pray now? I'll pray with you. It's about being intentional.
Oh, wow.
And so it's not only service programs. We go out. We were the marshals at the Trenton parade. We were also in the church. We have 50,000 guys, and there's all sorts of different ministries and ways to serve. And any way you want to fit in, we can find a way for you.
Well, I think also, you kind of highlighted a few minutes ago, you can lose God in service sometimes because you're so focused on the service, and the next thing you know, you're doing it for yourself. Whereas core is giving you the tools before you even go to the service or when you're out doing the service to remind you what you're doing for.
That too, because you can also get caught up in the service and lose your family. The whole thing is your family. It's about your family coming into it. But if you bring God in and do it for God, he'll work your way through. Yeah. And the whole thing, one of the things we talk about, we're here to proclaim his name and radical trust in the Holy Spirit. Most people don't know it. And there is a spiritual work. Get to know your guardian angel.
Yeah. And that's, I think, important to have a very specific to men opportunity to touch on those spiritual and prayerful acts, that just reorient.
So if people want to find out more information about core, how can they do that?
They can go up on the website. If you type it up, New Jersey Knights, and they'll come up. You'll get to our website. Just click into it, tell it. If you'll give them my information, you can send it to me. And we're in a process of building now there.
And I have checked out the website, everybody. So it's really easy to use. The core page, it has a series of 3 or 4 videos to basically say, this is what it is, this is what we do. And the videos are like 3 minutes each. They're quick, and it really gives you a good, I think, synopsis of what core is.
The other part about it is you type up into the Breach program, the video series. Oh, yeah. It has 10 videos into it. The first part of each video is about a minute and a half. It'll give you an overview. You could spend a half hour going through that, and you'll understand what we're trying to do.
Great. Well, it's so good to have you on the show, Jim. Thank you for being with us the entire show.
I love it. This is great.
I love the fact that you have a hand in every diocese in New Jersey. So it's exactly what Better Together is about. So, that's fantastic that you're working with everybody. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It's great.
Thank you.
What you do is great. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. EmmaLee, always a pleasure. And listeners, we hope to talk to you next month. And in the meantime, continue to have a blessed Lent.